We are Group 3, and we will be doing a walkthrough of the pharmaceutical therapy Opdivo. My name is Travis Rath.
My name is Matthew Laird.
And my name is Micah Zaragoza.
My name is George Wu.
In 1887, two friends, venture capitalists William McLaren and John Myers, invested $5,000 in a Clinton pharmaceutical company, a failing New York drug manufacturing firm. By 1924, Bristol Myers profits topped $1 million and sold products in 26 countries around the world, going public in 1929. Dr. Edward Squibb, a U.S. Navy surgeon, left military service, and in 1859, Dr. Squibb opened his first manufacturing plant in New York. In 1902, E.R. Squibb & Sons established the first quality control laboratory. By this time, his company was employing over 100 people and producing over 800 preparations. Both companies continued independently until 1989, when the two companies of Bristol Myers and E.R. Squibb & Sons merged to become known as Bristol Myers Squibbs. This merger propelled the new company into the market, making it one of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies in the world, with profits totaling $1.3 billion and gross revenues of $8.6 billion. Next slide. This is the mission statement of BMS. Under the statement, BMS operates by providing free medications to patients in the United States with financial problems as well as the rest of the world. The Bristol Myers Squibb Foundation regularly partners with other philanthropic organizations such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to promote health and well-being to impoverished and marginalized people across the globe. Next slide. This is a SWOT analysis on Bristol Myers Squibb. Bristol Myers Squibb's strengths. Today, BMS focuses on products in six core areas: cardiovascular, immunoscience, metabolics, neuroscience, oncology, and virology. Financially, BMS is doing well, with total revenues of $22.5 billion. Also in 2018, BMS successfully introduced 14 new products into various markets. Global revenues in the fourth quarter of 2018 were driven by 5 main products: Opdivo, Eliquis, Yervoy, Orencia, and Spirel. Weaknesses and financial position. BMC has a relatively large debt-to-equity ratio, which could limit their ability to raise new product funding through corporate loans or bond issues. Strong dependence on working with third parties to improve and enhance abilities. BMS has a history of working with other companies to lessen the time it takes to bring a new product to the market. Often this ends up giving them less market share. Substantial drop in sales for 2 key drugs. The time to develop a new pharmaceutical and then bring it to market on average about 10 years, with the lifespan of the patent being nearly 20 years. BMS has 6 prioritized products, all of which will be losing patent protection within the next 8 years. Company layoffs and worker loyalty. BMS employs over 23,000 people. As a rule of business, they employ people by product line. If the market changes or a product line fails to become profitable, then that entire line is subject to termination. Opportunities. Divestiture of the company's $3.8 billion in pension liabilities. By the end of 2019, BMS will have divested and closed their pension plan. This move will remove the burden of this liability from the company's financial statement, as well as streamline and cut administrative costs. Second, security technologies to make packaging products less vulnerable to counterfeiting. The cost of counterfeit medication is primarily sold in low-income countries of between $775 and $200 billion annually. BMS is working to secure their supply chain by working to create laws requiring tamper-resistant packaging and serialized identifiable products. 3, expand access to its products through strategic acquisitions and partnerships. BMS faces intense competition from other manufacturers and is dependent on new and innovative products to maintain its profitability. To do this, BMS partners with or acquires many companies it feels they can help promote future growth. Threats are pricing pressures. Increasing scrutiny by federal government and media keeps the debate about drug pricing abuse raging, as well as increased pressure from the world events such as the trade war with China and Brexit continue to have negative effects. Government regulation. Backlash from consumers, and especially from the government, is getting more adversarial. Currently, there are 269 active bills regarding reform key areas. If all of these bills are passed, it will completely change the way that drug pricing and pharmaceutical marketing is conducted. Next slide.
So from a research and development standpoint, in 1992, a researcher by the name of Tasuku Honjo started studying PD-1, which is a protein that's expressed on the surface of immune cells called T cells. The T cells identify cancer cells and destroy them in the body. In mid-2000s, BMS began studying PD-1 and PD-L1 inhibitors. December 2014, the FDA approves Opdivo for advanced malignant melanoma. And then in 2015, March, it is approved for second-line treatment of non-small cell lung cancer. In October of 2015, it is approved for advanced non-small cell lung cancer during and after platinum chemotherapy, which is a traditional chemotherapy agent. In that same month of October of 2015, combination treatment of Opdivo and Yervoy is approved for a specific type of melanoma. Later that year, renal cell carcinoma is approved as an indication. And in 2016, May, it is approved for classical Hodgkin lymphoma, as well as a cancer of the head and neck in November. In 2017, Opdivo is approved for advanced urothelial carcinoma, resected melanoma, and then the combination of treatments is approved in April of 2018 for advanced renal cell carcinoma. The combination treatment, furthermore, is approved for advanced non-small cell lung cancer in June 2018. And then in July 2018, it is approved for metastatic colorectal cancer. Finally, in August 2018, it is approved for small cell lung cancer as third-line treatment. Here's the comprehensive list of FDA-approved indications for Opdivo.
Now moving on to intellectual property. Bristol Myers currently holds 6 key patents for its drug Opdivo. 5 of these patents shown in the chart represent process patents that detail the mechanisms of approach for PD-1, PD-L1, and PD-L2, key enzymes, as George discussed, responsible for tumor growth and cancer metastasizing in the body. The second patent listed in this chart is also a process patent, but is for a specific dosage formulation. The majority of these patents were filed in 2006, with the exception of one patent in 2003, one of the first patents to describe Opdivo's drug mechanism. This patent received a 1-year extension from the USTPO due to a significant role it plays in new cancer immunotherapies. The expiration dates of these patents range from about 2023 to 2027, and these key patent claims, as previously stated, focus on enzyme attack, specifically for lung cancer and melanoma indications. 2027 is the expiration date for market exclusivity for Opdivo in the United States, unless further exceptions are made. Further exceptions in this case refer to patent term restorations, or PTRs, that Bristol Myers has already filed for Opdivo that could extend its patent life by 3 years, which would make Opdivo's new expiration date 2030. In terms of generics, the risk is relatively low in this area due to the cancer market already being quite concentrated with players and immunotherapies being significantly too complex for generic companies at the moment. Keytruda really is the only company that has put significant pressure on Opdivo already. Next slide.
Once Opdivo proceeded through development to investigational new drug filing with the US FDA, it moved through phased clinical trials for regulatory approvals. For BMS, this meant following their CheckMate clinical trial program, which I will discuss shortly. Considering trial CheckMate 66 for untreated metastatic melanoma, the clinical endpoints BMS relied upon were primarily overall survival and overall survival rate, which are measures of patient survivability over baseline chemotherapy. Their secondary endpoints were median months of progression-free survival, objective response rate, measures of patient and tumor responsiveness over time to treatment. Next slide. Looking closer at CheckMate 66, here are example data demonstrating drug efficacy, where N up top indicates enrolled patients for the trial. Numbers in each column correspond to reported survival and response rates, with numbers in parentheses showing percentage response for each endpoint in the population. Next slide. This is showing what the data looks like. With Opdivo, the top line demonstrating elongated patient survival compared with a declining overall survival for patients on chemotherapy. Next slide. Having discussed a trial in detail, let's consider BMS's CheckMate trials program, currently in use for several new indications cited in our appendix materials. CheckMate is an open-label randomized trial which does not meet the gold standard double-blind trial designs. However, in randomized open-label trials, treatments are randomly assigned while both patients and trial administrators are aware of which treatments are being used, as this methodology has important ethical considerations for cancer patients to know what treatment they're receiving, as well as allowing their physicians insight to track their progression. Interestingly, there were no black box warnings issued from the CheckMate programs. However, there were contraindications, including Opdivo should not be used in individuals with immune deficiencies or autoimmunity responses, particularly to biologic drugs. One of the progressive advantages of the CheckMate program was incorporation of precision medicine techniques, such as identification of favorable genetic biomarkers for treatment response. However, improvements could be made to accommodate patient-centric trials, such as incorporation of wearables for remote data gathering, data sharing with patients and physicians, and use of adaptive trials based on real-world data, allowing patients and their physicians the ability to monitor and respond through treatment plans. Next slide.
Moving on to pricing, although there are other key players in the field, such as Pfizer's Bavencio, Keytruda, a large immunotherapy drug from Merck, is Opdivo's largest competitor. Now, Keytruda, while having similar side effects overall when compared to Opdivo, has had much greater success in which when they had a very narrow focused trial for small cell lung cancer patients, surpassing all expectations and reaching its primary endpoint, reducing the risk of death by a whopping 22% when compared to a chemotherapy control group. Opdivo, in running a similar study except for a broad array of cancers, failed to reach its clinical endpoint and failed to reduce the risk of death in patients, yielding no statistically significant results. As we look to the right on this chart, we can see that Opdivo's monthly price is $13,100 compared to Keytruda at $13,000, Bavencio at also $13,000, and Tecentriq at $12,500. The price of Opdivo currently is yearly is about $150,000 to $200,000 a month. This is dependent on dosages and specific treatment regimens for patients. Next slide, please. Opdivo was first to market in this area and therefore could demand a little more competitive price using a price premium for a first to market advantage. But using a value-based pricing model comparing to Bavencio and Bristol Myers' own Yervoy as comparators, Opdivo most likely would price their products similar to both these drugs. Opdivo most likely did know that Keytruda was coming to market soon after and would also use a similar value-based pricing approach, but was expecting their Checkmate 026 trial to show exceptional results, which combined with their first-to-market strategy could still yield the high price tag they were looking for over its competitors. But with the recent letdown of this trial and the fantastic performance of Keytruda in this trial group, Opdivo has lost a significant market share already and will either stay at their premium price in the niche market or be forced to lower their price massively to compete with Keytruda. Keytruda's sales already in 2018 were $7.2 billion compared to Opdivo's sales of just $1.5 billion. So it's likely Opdivo has already made the decision to keep their price at a premium and serve a smaller market. Next slide.
Now I will talk about reimbursement. Once pricing is set, BMS needs to ensure Opdivo can get paid for. Opdivo is not covered by Medicare or Medicaid, however, it is covered by US private insurance. I provide an example here with Cigna, for which Opdivo falls into Tier 5 specialty drugs with quantity limits and requiring pre-authorization. It is common for immuno-oncology drugs to require pre-authorization to ensure there is medical necessity for their use. As noted here, patients may be subject to a 31% copay, meaning there is significant patient impact with treatment. However, Opdivo has found reimbursement support through health technology assessments and pharmacy benefit managers, as we see there has been success establishing CPT codes for drug administration. Taking a look outside the US, we find the UK's HTA NICE, or National Institute for Care Excellence, has approved Opdivo for 6 indications, with a drug formulary price of £439 per vial, extrapolated to an annual course of £28,500, offering insight on their value perception of the drug. It is interesting to note that in terms of patient impact, BMS has established a patient subsidy program for those who do not have insurance or have difficulty paying for Opdivo treatments. Next slide. When we take a look at the value, we're talking about the drug's efficacy for the cost, measured in the UK via the incremental cost-effectiveness ratio under NICE, whereby they have established a QALY, or Quality Adjusted Life Years, valuation of £20,000 to £30,000 per year. This is benefited by being an outpatient procedure, keeping costs low compared to treatments requiring hospitalization. If you remember, the UK anticipates spending £28,500 per year compared to the QALY score here, indicating Opdivo meets cost-effectiveness expectations while allowing BMS to capture the value of their drug. However, there are things BMS could improve. They could include options for outcomes-based payments, where discounts or rebates are offered based on efficacy in individual patients, or BMS could consider expansion of their subsidy programs for accessibility. Next slide.
Marketing. BMS typically markets and sells their products to specialty distributors such as PBMs, but also to a lesser extent directly to distributors, retailers, hospitals, and government agencies. But overall, the bulk of their marketing activities are aimed at the consumer market. In 2018, BMS had a total spend for marketing support and activities of $672 million, and an overall decrease from 2016. The drug maker allocated 85% of its marketing budget towards its Opdivo class of drugs. Of this amount, 68% of the total BMS advertising budget was spent on television, 20% on digital, 8% on print ads, 4% on other types of advertising such as direct mail. The Opdivo product line accounts for nearly 10% of worldwide advertising of oncology-related medications. This concludes our presentation on Opdivo from Team 3. We hope that you have enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.